So here's just a quick summary of what I did to combine the aluminum bed that's sold for I think it's the 6-inch aluminum bed, not specifically for the Printrbot Jr. In fact, the Printrbot page warns you specifically that you'll have to hack it yourself if you're going to put on the Printrbot Jr. But I do have a Printrbot Jr. So I wanted to combine the aluminum bed, which I think was designed for the LC or the Plus, with the Printrbot Jr., the official heated bed upgrade. Turned out to be pretty simple. I actually need fewer parts overall than I would for the official Junior upgrade. So this is the official 10-inch Junior platform, and in the official build, you use the stabilizer platform, and then you put the PCB heater on top of it, and you lose quite a lot of space, and there's a bunch of other stuff you have to put together. This is somewhat simpler. This is just the base, and the aluminum bed is going to be a direct substitute for everything else, and I'm going to turn screws and stuff to adjust the bed directly. So what did I need to do to make this happen? The first is that the 6-inch PCB heater that comes with the Junior heated bed upgrade does fit perfectly into the aluminum bed that they sell. Not a big surprise, but it is a relief. That was something that I was worried about. Instead of screwing it in, I have epoxied it in using the Arctic Silver thermal epoxy. So I basically put it down. I'm not using the holes here, but I put toothpicks in the holes anyway, and then clamped it down with a couple of these guys. It sets relatively fast in about 30 or so minutes. Pop the clamps off. I'm going to need to put the thermistor here. All of that is going to be the usual way, except that in order to prevent heat from coming off the back, I bought a couple of extra Kapton squares. I'm going to use a full Kapton square here, and then maybe layer some aluminum tape over this, since there won't be another piece of wood here to shield the rest of the bed from the heat. We'll see if that. I'm a little bit worried that yes, this thing could warp if it's exposed to a lot of heat. We'll see. I'll try to insulate that. And then I did have to drill some extra holes. So these 3 holes here, these 3 holes here, 6 holes total, these are the ones that we'll use to attach to the X-axis platform. Those are the same. These 4 large holes are the original holes. You can see that they're kind of dark on the inside because they were laser cut. And those are the 4 holes that are intended for the original leveling plate that we're not using. Instead, I want to use these 4 holes here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and use those 4 holes as the holes that I'm going to use to mount the bed. And that does mean that I need to preserve the original length screws. I'm not going to use the extra long screws, right? Remember, you have to do this assembly thing. I'm sure you remember doing this for your Printrbot V1. You're going to need to preserve the original ones because the new ones that come with the heated bed upgrade are long. They're long because you have a lot more stuff, right? You've got this added in, but if you use the long ones, they're going to dangle out too far out the bottom of this guy, and they're going to snag the rest of your X-axis assembly. The thickness of this aluminum plate is just about the same as the original. You see it's slightly thicker, but that's okay. There's plenty of spring clearance. About the same thickness as the original bed, and that means that we will be able to use the original screws. I printed out the bed leveling upgrade. Right, so this is just a gear thing into the top here. I am a little bit afraid of conducting heat into this thing. It's probably just me being OCD. But I did wrap a little Kapton tape around the top here to try to insulate the screw from the heat of the bed. So we're just going to put these through the top, and then I can put the spring in, and then we will be able to apply this bed into the extra holes that I drill. How did I drill these holes? Drilling the holes was relatively simple. I aligned the bed to where I wanted it. Just kind of use my fingers here at the top to make sure that it was level. You do want to make sure you get the right side of this. You want the junior facing out, right? Because you want the close end of these two tabs to be towards the Z-axis tower, or the YZ tower assembly. If you flip this around the other way, you're going to have all kinds of weird problems. You're going to lose most of your printing space. So I want this back end flush. And once I got that done, then I clamped it down and drilled it with the old power drill. That was pretty easy. I had to use the smaller drill bit first to get through, and then since I do need the screws to not screw into the wood, but rather move freely in the wood, I had to move the drill bit one size up and drill the holes a second time after starting them off the holes here. And that's it. I'm just going to now finish with the standard instructions for affixing the thermistor. Then I'm going to put this thing back together. So I used actually a little bit more of the adhesive epoxy. And notice that this is the Arctic Silver, the conductive epoxy. Arctic Silver also makes this alumina branded metallic epoxy that is specifically non-conductive. And that's not what you want here, because I want there to be really good conduction between the PCB heater and the aluminum bed. I also use a little bit of the epoxy to epoxy down the resistor, or the thermistor rather. This one made me a little bit scared because there's bare leads there and I don't want to short the thermistor. So after putting the epoxy down and then using a bit of blue tape to clamp it, I used the good old multimeter to double check. These are 100 kilo ohm resistors, so if you measure the resistance from the exposed bits here with the multimeter, you should get somewhere around 100, 110, anything above 0, and you're fine. So I'm set here. I put the full sheet Kapton over this, try to produce some a thermal barrier here, and then I'm going to put on some aluminum tape to finish this up. I might, because the aluminum tape is conductive to prevent shorts, I might put a little more Kapton over here to protect these leads, and then we'll be ready to assemble the whole thing. Alright, I've applied some aluminum tape now to the new X-axis assembly and to the back of this, which should hopefully provide some protection from radiating heat from the top to the bottom. I'm not super worried about that actually, because I'm not going to run this necessarily super hot. And now I'm going to prepare the bed assembly, get this ready for assembly. So we're just about done here. I've got the two halves, I've got all my screws, right, and springs. So I'm going to put the screws in. I'm being a little bit OCD here. You notice I put a few patches of Kapton here to reduce the amount of contact between the aluminum bed and the screw here. Totally unnecessary, I'm sure. In either case, push these screws through. And the good thing is that these are actually pretty tight, which is good because maybe then I won't need to glue the heads of these screws down. In the original setup on my original Printrbot V1, in order for these bed levelers to work, I had to glue down the heads of these screws, right? You don't use these screws to level the bed. That's the point of these bed levelers. With the extra Kapton tape and junk I put in here, these screws are actually in pretty tight, so I may not need any additional glue here to glue these down. So I will put the springs in. These two springs have gotten conjoined. There we go. 1, 2. Alright, so the springs are in. Now, this does protrude a bit. I'm not going to be able to squeeze it down. I'm going to, kind of like standard practice, I'm going to want the space here to be as big as possible but still level. So I will then align these. I want to make sure these are good. This is good and springy. I'm going to need this to be fairly free moving. I don't want this jamming when I'm trying to level the bed. That would be annoying. Okay. And then I can put the bed levelers back in. Give me a decent amount of play in either direction, but tighten these down. Actually, I can't get them until they're flush. It's impossible. Well, actually, if you look at the side here, okay, you can't see, but the spacing of the spring means that the minimum distance between these will never hit the thermistor. That's simply impossible, so no worries about that. I'm going to tighten these guys down all the way, and then maybe take them out 3 rotations. Alright, there's not 3 rotations, there's 1 rotation. Rotation. Okay, just half. Take this out, half rotation, take that out, half rotation, take that out, half rotation. Okay. And there we have it. Oh no! That was stupid. Facing the wrong way. This has got to face back towards the printer. That's, of course, not a huge deal, but kind of stupid. I want to take this out 1.5. That's 1.5. Same thing here. Damn it, lost track. Alright. 1.5. 1.5. Alright. Okay. I could apply the Kapton now. It's standard thing, so I won't need to do that on camera. But this bed now, with the simple addition of drilling 4 extra holes, is now ready to go. I've got all these extra parts that I didn't need to use. So I'm ready to apply, and I've got the heated bed, all nice and good for this Printrbot V1. Thanks for watching.